Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the single player Let's Play series. As promised in between episodes, I did some blaze rod farming. I also have been doing some small decoration and cleanup, so you can see we have a main pathway through these main areas through here. I'm still slacking on the pathways on the other side of the bridge over here and all the way over towards here. There's no pathway picking up to go to the factory, and I don't know that there's going to be. But today I wanted to work on a couple of new things that came out in the 3.2.2 update to the mod pack. So this mod pack update includes a couple of decently good fixes and a couple of really cool changes as well. But one thing that got included that I've been having a lot of trouble with not having some form of, and I think would be nice to have again, is teleportation. So we do have the temp pad, of course, and we know how to use that. But the problem is that the temp pad has a cooldown, and that's totally understandable. I'm not surprised by that at all. In fact, it's up to me to configure whether or not it does. But there are alternatives now to the temp pad. So if we look at the teleporter, or we can just take a look at the temp pad itself, we'll see that there are actually a good handful of uses. And there's also a respective quest for this now. So if we grabbed our temp pad, that would be one item taken care of. But I'm actually going to need to make probably two more. So I'm more than likely going to teach our system how to auto-craft a large majority of these things, because I think they would be pretty helpful to have. And the temp pad... the teleporters now also use a new material that we haven't gotten to use yet. It's one that we've had access to for a while, but one that I haven't used yet for more minecarts, called silica steel. And silica steel is made in the induction smelter or in the arc furnace out of 3 steel and 1 quartz. So we're going to teach it that recipe as well. If I go to the right device, that would be nice. So we already know how to craft a lot of these things. The information screen is largely the only thing left, and so we would have to do this recipe for sure. We'll need to teach you how to make just plain glass panes, because I don't think you know how to make that. And those are used in a couple of other places as well. And then the glass panes combined with the, let's grab you, should be good enough. We'll just do glass panes there. And so that will get us the information screen. And then the redstone lamp is super straightforward. That's a very vanilla item to have. So we'll go ahead and toss that in. Let's see. So we've got some RF toolsy things. Oh, I did not mean to shift click that in. That probably went all the way up here. Yep, that certainly did. It's the only downside with having so many crafting slots is shift clicks to the first respective inventory slot, not the actual first slot that you see here. So it went way out of the way. That's totally fine though. Let's go ahead and make those there. And just trying to keep with the same vanilla-ish organization, I'll put that there. And, well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but since that's a redstone device, that can live there. And since this is not, it can live there. So now if I wanted to get a temp pad, I would actually have to craft that recipe as well and put that in there. My bad, forgot about that. Let's go ahead and put this down here with these things, because they're pretty related. And now we just have to teach it the rest of these items. We already know how to do a lot of these. The cured rubber is just smelting rubber, so that's an easy one. In fact, we may already have that one. I don't remember if I did that or not. I did not. Okay, good. And then we have, let me just bookmark these. Uh-oh, this is actually the wrong recipe. This is flipped. This should not be 9 teleporters. Should be 9 teleporter frames and only 1 teleporter. Oh, well, you know what? We'll live with it for now. Not really much that I can do about that. And then the silica steel, right? So we already know how to make the quartz dust, so we'll just do that and hope we don't run out of steel anytime soon. And that will go into our redstone furnace, which is somewhere around here. I'm sorry, not redstone furnace, the induction smelter. Here we go. We'll put you right there. The redstone furnace, you can have this right here. And so now, if I asked you to make this, you know how to do that. And if I asked you to make teleporter frames, you know how to do those as well. And again, we'll just toss those down here. Come on. There we go. And those can go all together like so. So let's go ahead and grab teleport. Oh, yeah, we got to wait for things to update. We'll grab a teleporter. We'll grab teleporter frames. And I'll walk you through how to set this up. In fact, we're going to need 2 pairs or 2 crafts of teleporter frames. 1 craft is exactly enough for 1 teleporter, but we're going to need multiples. And so what I'm thinking here is that we can set up our teleporters somewhere relatively convenient. I still haven't quite figured out where yet, but I am thinking that it could be helpful to have them maybe even somewhere in here or downstairs or out here maybe even. I'm still not totally sure. We could put them like right here reasonably. Anyways, the teleporters are crafted, so we'll go ahead and take those. And you can see these teleporters don't stack because they're just the bases. They're not actually the teleporter itself yet, right? And let's go ahead and grab some flux points. I pre-crafted a handful of flux cores, but I think we're still going to need some more before the end of the episode. We'll see, though. Depends on how plans go, you know? And for now, I really don't know where to put this. I'd love to maybe have it somewhere that made a little more sense, but we can just put this down here for now and then clean this up later. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to say, actually, you know what? Let's elevate this. We'll put you here, and of course, we're going to assign you to our main network, and then we're going to put this down. And because we've added the connected textures mod, we can now see that the frame itself connects together really beautifully, and we will set the frequency shortly. And then all the way over here, we can do the opposite end and set this up. Probably just back here is fine, to be completely honest with you. And we will set your network as well. And now, if I just said, let's go to factory, home, like so, and then we set that, and let's change the color to green. So factory to home, there is no link currently because the other end doesn't have a configuration, so we will take care of that. If we come here and we say set, now these are linked together, and I put these up a block for a reason that you'll see, but if I walk through this, it's going to put me over here, and if I walk through this, it'll put me there. So I'm thinking that we may just have the one teleporter and just dial to the different teleporters as we go, because I don't know how necessarily helpful that is. If we ever accidentally unlink them, which is very unlikely, you know, we can always just take out our temp pad and warp home to fix things. So I'm thinking that'll probably be the case. So let me take a few seconds to decorate this guy up a little bit on both ends, because this is definitely one of those things that doesn't quite look right. In fact, I don't even really love it there, so that's an easy fix, but I might move it a couple blocks over. We'll see. I gotta come up with something for this. It's gotta look better than that, in my opinion. So yeah, give me just a few. All right, so I think this is a much better location for it. It's also integrated as part of the path, so it feels a little more fit in. And I did some really cool stuff with the framed blocks mod. If you can figure out what I did here to make it so that you can't see the stars all the way through, but it's still only 2 blocks deep. Let me know what you think it is. This is something that I haven't really shown off, but I'm curious to see if you guys have caught on to this yet. Anyways, now we can walk through it. This will take us through the other end, which I've also slightly decorated. Not nearly as much as before, but same footprint, same stars behind it. And yeah, overall, I think that definitely works out a lot nicer. Now I'm going to set up one more of these. And that will be at our skeleton farm. If you are surprised by that, I'm honestly not really sure what to say, because the skeleton farm has been the biggest pain to get to because I have to actually use my temp pad to get there every single time. So let's run over to that. And we already have the perfect spot for a teleporter, so we'll just put this one back here. And I'll be back when this one is done. And so now if I come over here and dial this frequency instead, we should have a white portal that takes us through, just like so. Very cool. So this is very convenient for us to be able to get back and forth. And then if we just want to go over here instead, we can do that. And so now we only need the one frequency here. I do wish there was an easier or nicer way to swap these around, because we, you know, would really be able to benefit from that. But, you know, honestly, it's not that big of a deal. So that is at least one nice thing that we've gotten done today. I wanted to note that in the latest pack update, we've removed a couple of performance mods because they also cause graphical glitching and graphical errors. And so I wanted to address ways that you might be able to help your world. because I've had to go through and do that myself for this world, and I wanted to just sort of briefly cover that. And I'm also going to work on getting a couple of the nicer lampposts over here, because it seems as though we have lost one. But what I've had to do, and you'll see that I still get occasional frame rate drops, and this is on a very nice computer that I actually, do a lot of work with for game dev. But you'll see that A, we no longer have our beehives, and B, I've also gotten rid of the campfires and a lot of those things. And so what I did was I found out that through testing, I found out that this area in specific was causing a lot of lag, and the only place that I could think of that had active movement, because like this stuff over here doesn't really do a lot of stuff on its own. There's a lot of stuff going on in here, sure, but it's whenever I'm triggering auto crafting, and the only auto crafting that triggers automatically is the bone meal crafting from this guy, and this guy doesn't really cause that much lag. Definitely does cause some. The multi-blocks can accumulate and cause problems over time. But I really went through and started to analyze it and figured out that a lot of the cause was from the fact that the bees, the campfires had large particles and a large amount of them. The bees were numerous, and that caused lag on its own. A large amount of any mob is pretty complicated, and then a mob that's got enough AI to go find its own flowers is even more complicated. And then all the particles that they cause when they've been pollinated, it just becomes kind of a mess. So I got rid of most of those beehives. We've got them all in here. Well, there's the hive and then the nest. We've got them both there. And so everything seems to be a little bit better. I went through and did an okay performance analysis, but I might install the observable mod to see what else is left here. But if you're running into performance issues, I definitely recommend that. The render distance is also another big one. Dropping things down will help. And I installed a couple of my own performance improvement mods, and they come at a cost sometimes, but that's just sort of what happens. Rubidium is always still safe for this pack. You're free to use Rubidium if you really need the performance kick, because it is a nice and very, very noticeable performance improvement. So I don't blame anyone for using it, and I'm tempted to go back to use it too every now and then. The only reason that I don't is because it causes just a large number of graphical glitches. I also wanted the connected textures mod, which does this and a couple of other cool connected textures, and it doesn't support Rubidium, and I do occasionally run into issues. I also wanted to show off this really quickly, completely unrelated. The connected textures mods actually, or this has support for connected textures, so it's really cool now, so we can see the edges and stuff. But yeah, something about the way that the connected textures mod works is directly incompatible with Rubidium. Meanwhile, the connected textures here and the connected textures for connected glass, those all work still. Worked with Rubidium and without, and I never had any issues with them. So I'm not 100% sure what was going on there. But I did know that the covers, like remember in here we had our little covers for the cut tough that were glitching out, and then there was the bottom of the HVs that were a little weird. I can't really explain that one, but that's definitely fixed without Rubidium. So there is that. But yeah, it's just kind of one of those things that's been irking me lately, and I wanted to talk about. I did do something between episodes also to help with lag that I forgot to mention in this list. If we come down here and look through here, tile entities or any block that has like a ticking tile entity, right? Those can also cause some impact. And well, I had hundreds of pipes, and those pipes all caused lag on their own a little bit. And they're really fine in moderation, but I had close to 300 pipes for this entire system. So I got rid of them, and I moved to flux points and flux plugs. And then what I've done, I'll show you this really quickly. I'll show you this the right way, at least. So over here now, instead of having everything go to a pipe, it all just goes to a single flux plug. And this flux plug is in charge of all of our energy management across the board. So it makes it really easy to sort out problems if we have any, because it's all just right there. So yeah, stuff like this line here, this is totally fine. Definitely not a bad thing to have. Shouldn't be impactful on your performance whatsoever. But something as insane as the setup that I had been running before with the several, let's see how many pipes I ended up getting back from that actually. They were all, yeah, we got about 300 pipes because I had about a stack or so in my network. So that was a little bit ridiculous. So as we progress and improve our tech, we kind of got to a point where we stretched our old setup a little bit too thin. and that started to cause performance issues. So hopefully this new setup should be a little less taxing, ideally. All right, y'all. So about today's plan of action, I want to get some stuff set up in the factory. And one of the biggest things that I want to get set up is automated wood stripping and automated casing production, because the casing production situation is super sad. And so the wood stripping, I'm probably going to make as a separate setup, but these are both going to be able to live in the same room. And this is one of the cool things about the way that I've designed the factory is we'll be able to put everything in there and then glass it off, and we'll be able to see it just fine anyways. Now, the reason that I'm down here is because you're probably noticing that we are a far ways off from the factory. That's quite a couple hundred, let's see, negative 96. 409 down to like almost 609. Yeah, that's about 200 blocks away. And while that's not too terribly far, I don't want to run 200 blocks of networking wire all the way over here. And so rather than doing exactly that, we're going to get into network transmitters and receivers today. So to get started with the network transmitters and receivers, you'll see that they're a little pricey. But what they do is they let you have remote access to your network at all times. And so we're going to request a transmitter and a receiver's content. So you can see that they both have basically the same recipe, just one of them is upside down. And we're also going to need a network card to store the information about the network that we want to connect it to. And so while that crafts up, we're going to run over to our little factory, because that is where we're going to need to set this up. And so over here, probably right here in the middle, we will... Yeah, that is a somewhat recurring issue here, having this ravine right underneath us. Sometimes it's tempting to kind of fill stuff in, and this is one of those times. So if you want to know how to fill stuff in quickly, while I'm still waiting for things to craft up, let's go ahead and get out the building gadget, and we're just going to go into surface mode, choose the material, which in this case is stone, and I'm just going to fill in all of this all the way up. And then we can go ahead and get a little bit more comfortable down here without running into just a bunch of stuff that we fall down into all the time, because that's getting very annoying very quick. Much better. And we'll just do that. So now we should have everything we need for a network transmitter, a network receiver. Oh, looks like we're still working on cooking up a couple of those ingredients. So the network receiver is still good to have first, because what we need to do is put it down first, grab a network card, right click on the card, and you'll see now it says linked to, and then the location. So that's negative 106 or negative 107, 590. Yep, that's the spot that we're looking at. So that's that block. And then when we come over here to our base, let me just come down here real quickly and grab our network transmitter. I told you to craft everything for that. I guess you didn't. All right, well, there we go. Then we take our network transmitter and we hook it up to our network. And so, of course, this is going to mean it's going to have to go somewhere. Personally, I want this to go somewhere that I can easily see. So I'm going to put it right here, just right there. And if we take a look at the usage, right now it's going to use 64 FE per tick just by existing. And if I right click on it, you'll see it tells us it's missing that network card. So if I put that in, that number may change. It changes, I think, per every 1,000 blocks. I may be mistaken there. And so we're only 182 blocks away from source to destination. And so the expense is just going to stay at that base 64 FE per tick or flex per tick to run. And so what does this mean, you may be wondering? Well, this now means that if I grab a cable and a crafter or a grid, I know we have a couple. No, we don't actually have any grids. Shoot. Well, if I grab this crafter that I'm waiting on, and if I grab, let's go and grab like a sawmill. Right. We need to probably teach you a couple of those things. Well, that's okay. Let's go and get that crafter. That should be ready-ish. Yep. If I hook this up, you'll see normally when a crafter is disconnected from a network, it's gray. Now it's connected to the same network as before, and so it's not gray. And that means that we can do a lot of stuff with this now that we're here, and we don't have to do everything kind of all over again. So let's go ahead and go into create really quickly. We're going to need a saw blade, and we're going to need to combine that with a andesite casing. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm also going to need a deployer, a belt, a table, smithing table. We'll need some belts. Let's go and grab a water wheel or two. This is such a simple and lightweight setup that I'm not going to set up a motor at all. There really isn't much sense in that. And this can be a really small and compact setup, so I'm going to make it as small and compact as I can. We're going to need another set of conveyor belts. And that should do it. So we're going to need, of course, a handful of funnels. Let's grab... I like to use the brass funnels because they're a lot easier on the speed of things. And we'll grab a barrel. We'll grab another crafter. And we'll grab a pipe. Actually, you know what? We don't need to grab a pipe. We will be perfectly okay. What we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to strip birch logs. Since birch is what we're automating, we can make this really, really simple and strip birch logs. So what we're going to do is here we're going to put, first of all, let's grab shafts. So we will grab you there, and we'll tell you funnel is there, and we're going to tell this guy, hey, only extract birch. And then I'll grab my saw and strip that, and we're going to say you should only extract stripped birch. And now if we grab those again, because I forgot about that, actually we're really just going to need that one. If we grab a pipe, and a deployer can go here. What we can do is we can tell this deployer, and perhaps we'll have to set these up on diametrically opposed edges of this setup, and that's okay. We can tear this down. This doesn't have to be there. I liked having this nice and, what's the word I'm looking for? Symmetrical, but it doesn't have to be. So that's, you know, one of the flexibilities that I'm taking up with this little factory setup here is that it doesn't have to be perfect ever. So one thing that I'm wondering, right, is there a way to automate the saw cleanly? We're going to have to play with that because the sawmill, if you don't know, is kind of a pain. So let's grab a motor, and I'm going to play with this for a little bit. Okay, so I wanted to build and test it before I went through with this, but apparently the sawmill here, which does normally require a saw blade, which is what this guy is used for normally, and I'll go ahead and craft that up to show you the intended use of the sawmill, but apparently the first layer of this will actually clean the bark right off of any log. And when you do this, if you don't have a sawmill there, then you have no problems. It's going to go ahead and spit out the output. And it's just going to come out here at the end, which we could just put like a barrel instead right there. And if we go and take a look at the saw blade, let's grab one of these now. Should have everything. If you just right click, you can put it in. Of course, that means now this will hurt you. Also, you'll notice that came out. That's important. We'll have to take care of that later. This is the intended use, which is just go through here, run that through, cut it up in flanks, insert. But again, we don't need that, so we're just going to take that out. And what we can do instead, I also don't know where all my burgers went, but maybe I ate them all, honestly. But what we can do is, first of all, sawdust is pretty cool, pretty useful. So I may keep this, but I think for now, my easiest solution is just to go ahead and start using a trash can right away. I know probably a handful of people are going to be mad about that. I don't really see the importance there for me personally and for this setup, but we will see. And then we're going to grab a dimensional chest to put over there at the end. And so now the only step left is to go ahead and get rid of these again. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to keep them, but it's definitely a little bit cramped in here. So we're just going to go ahead and not do that. And so let's grab that dimensional chest. Already done. Delightful. Go ahead and set that to the tune of me. And if I put anything in here, yep, like usual, that gets taken care of. And if we grab our crafters... My question is, do I need anything special for this, or can I just insert directly here? So we're going to find that out really quickly. So let's do this. That's going to say sawmill. Perfect. And let's go back home and create that recipe. So the recipe for you here is going to produce that. Ooh, we want to clean that up. And we're just going to say 1 to 1. And if we come down here to the sawmill, we'll do that. And now, heading back over to the factory, I'm so glad we put that teleporter there. It makes it so much easier. If I requested a stack of those, yeah, they just go through. How excellent is that? It doesn't even make any noise. Our extras are being taken care of. We're getting in our logs. Everything is just going, honestly, very, very good. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use logs to kind of decorate this room up a little bit because it's got a couple of spots that are just floating. And so we can use covers, which can be made like so. Come on. There we go. We'll do that right there. And then we can use this log cover to cover up this guy a little bit. And you can get really picky with it if you want. And I think I am just because I can. And cover up all 4 sides of that. And now that is this room. And yeah, I've got some lateral space, but I don't think that we're going to do anything over there. And so what we can do now is, and by the way, I had to change these out for display boards. I love the chalkboards, but when I changed up the mods for the 3.2.2, I think, update, and removed rubidium, my signs, my billboard, or sorry, my blackboards, whenever facing west, just west, which is this direction, would stop showing up their contents. They had their contents within, but they just would stop rendering. So I moved over to these display boards from Create, which only require rotational energy when updating. And so if I grab my motor, another flux point, which may take a small second to craft, we can go ahead and update this. I've got a name tag in here that is called Space Age. For now, we'll grab an anvil. And we can start to update this guy to say Sawmill. And of course, that requires XP to change. So we'll do that. We'll do maybe 3 spaces, I think should be enough. And then as soon as our point is done, and our cog is available, we can just set this back up again. Like so. Looks like we got a couple too many spaces. That's why we test. And 1 too few. It only costs 1 XP to fix it, so I'm not upset. My necessity for symmetry is far more important. There we go. And so what we can do now is we'll just grab yellow dye to do the subtext. And that can go away. And there we go. We now know exactly what this is, what this does, what its purpose is. And it's just going to be here for creating that. And so at this point, we're just going to go ahead and do just probably framed glass. Like so. And now we can see in here, and if we wanted to get, another stack of birch logs turned into stripped birch logs, we can actually watch this still happen, but it's now no longer happening right under our noses. So yeah, very fun stuff. I think this is a very cool setup for this. Now lastly, I do still have to get the deployer setup finished and put somewhere. So I think I'm going to dedicate this room here to a couple of little create odds and ends. Because I do still have a couple of things, and I've got a nice flat wall here anyways. So let's go ahead and grab that deployer. And we're going to do a conveyor belt setup before, but I think it'd be much easier and much cleaner if we didn't, and if we instead went with just a deployer and a depot and just kind of organized items out accordingly. So what we can do, and I think the corner makes the most sense for this. And we can rotate you like so, and that way I can just have a water... Ooh, this is actually kind of not bad. Let's grab some stone and a water wheel, and let me get some rotational energy going over to this. But I think this is kind of not a bad place to just slap a water wheel down. I'm not too upset by the ravine for once. This is not a bad place for it to pop up. Okay, so I think this setup might work. I have a secret storage here that is hooked up to a crafter that has been renamed for deploying. And let me just put some support blocks down here just in case I do need to do more digging around. I have a advanced filter here. This is one of the attribute filters. If I right click on it, you'll see that it has 1 tag for is tagged create casings. I'll have to add more attributes to that as we add more things here. But that's just sort of the nature of create sometimes. Not everything is perfectly automatable in a completely, what's the word I'm looking for? Encapsulated format where you don't have to go through and and fix up edge cases. So that happens. But let's just test this out with a stack of each stripped oak or stripped birch and words. Stack each of stripped birch and andesite alloy is fine. Why do you not accept? Why do you not accept that? What is happening here? I certainly hope I don't have to drop this down another block. That would be highly inconvenient. Let me try with just a normal barrel. That would be totally fine. I'm just confused more than anything why this is not connecting to that barrel. What is happening? Oh. Okay, my bad. Yep, that would have been totally fine the way it was before. Just fix that. Like so. Filters and slot allowed. Stripped birch log. Items and slot are disallowed. There's nothing here. You're still not doing it. Interesting. Okay, apparently it was an issue with the filtering. I'm not sure if that's a bug or just a misuse on my end. Sometimes it's a PEBCAC issue. You never know. But there we go. So now we're producing these. Let's just see if we can produce them automatically now. So let's once again do recipe teachings for these, and hopefully they all work. I don't see why they wouldn't. But I am definitely hopeful. So let's come over here and do casings. So we know how to do that. Yep, that's correct. And we know how to do these. Once again, yes, that is correct. So we've got 2 and 2, and then this is the last one. Once again, looks to be correct to me. And so, yep, there we have deploying. I might need to rename that because that's a bit of a deceptive name. But if we looked for casing and we wanted to do a couple of each, I'll test that out really quickly, and we'll make sure that everything works, and we should be good to go. So if I do casing... out of blocks here. Let's do 10, 10, and 10. Now we do have overflow protection, so we should be good if there's ever an issue. You'll see that those are coming in pretty quickly. And now it's going to try to send in more. Of course, more overflow protection. Probably could speed that up a little bit if we replace that with a hopper. That way we would at least have a few blocks buffer. But honestly, not really too worried about it. I like the aesthetics of this a lot more. And that seems to be working just fine. I think that looks excellent. I think that's pretty clean. And what we'll probably do is move the mixer in here as well. And I might try to hide this whole thing maybe behind, because we do have the space back here. So let's see what we can do, and then I'll spin back around and kind of see how things go. And there we go. That's a lot cleaner. I also put a couple of speed upgrades in the pipe, so now that if we requested for some copper casings, I've been testing with copper because copper is the easiest to get a hold of. You can see that this is very fast and completely clean. I love it. I love that. So anyways, you guys, this has been a very busy episode getting everything set up and prepped in here and doing some testing, getting everything configured. So I do apologize, but I do think I'm going to have to call this episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you very soon in the next one. Take care.